Hey everyone, it's Dustin with Handsome Phantom. I hope you're doing well today, and today we're talking about Skyrim VR. And this is really an interesting one for me because I was very curious when it was announced at E3, but also apprehensive with the fact that it was a normal game being converted to VR, and supposedly that's a no-no. But it looks like Bethesda said, you know, whatever, we're doing it anyway. And here we go, we have Skyrim VR. It's out, it's here, you can go buy it today. So the first thing a lot of people wonder is, what are the graphics like, since the PlayStation VR needs to display the image twice, so it's in 3D, and it's also pared down to that 1080p screen, it's only 720p with each eye, all that technical jargon. But surprisingly, the graphics aren't too bad. Now, for sure, do not expect Skyrim Special Edition, or whatever the fuck it was called. Do not expect that on this. It is going to be definitely pared down. It definitely reminds me more of the 360 version, with some of the elements from the remastered Skyrim thrown in there. So, the graphics, again, not too bad. I think where the graphics are not so great is when you're outside, but only certain elements of outside. Specifically, I think the foliage when you're in a field doesn't look too hot. But the overall picture, as far as seeing the mountains and the skybox and the difference, the moon in this game looks incredible, all look really good. And especially when you are closer to things, but not too close, things look really nice. And that brings me to my next point, and that is when you're inside somewhere is really cool. Specifically, I wanted to talk about inside where the Jarl is hanging out here. And it's really weird because this is a place that I've been so many times playing Skyrim in standard, normal, non-VR. But being in VR brings that sense of scale and depth that is just you can't do with a normal screen. This was super present as well when I went into this cave here, and this is one, I can't remember what it's called. It's one of the first cave areas you go into in the game. You're looking for that golden claw. And this was amazing, and I think this is where this game really shines, is when you are going through the caves and there's not like a ton of detail and foliage, so that all of that kind of just fades away. And I had a super fun time going through this cave, and it was almost creepy in certain areas, especially when you're like fighting the dregs, and if they like run up on you and scare you, it's definitely a whole different level. But again, going through the cave, very cool. Let's talk about the controls for a little bit, and the controls are definitely interesting. There's two different options, and you'll see me using both throughout this video, just to get a sense of each one and what their strengths and their weaknesses are. The main way that they're advertising the game is through the move controllers, and that is basically each move controller is each hand. Now, you can choose to use the teleport to move around, which I quickly turned off because it totally is immersion breaking for Skyrim. And instead, what you can do is you can hit one of the move buttons and point your left hand in the direction you want to go. And I actually found this worked out pretty well. It can get a little weird during combat if you're fighting someone and you're trying to move backwards and fight at the same time. Just because if, let's say you have a spell in that left hand and you want to move back while you're casting the spell, it's not really possible with the move controllers. But nonetheless, it's still good. What's also nice is Bethesda took the extra time to make sure there were lots of customizable options for this game. Everyone has different comfort levels as far as there's VR sea legs. So you'll see in some of this footage they have the blinders on the side, so you kind of, when you move around or when you jump, you lose peripheral vision. And this was helpful for me at first, because VR sickness for me is a sometimes thing. Sometimes I can go through with no comfort and feel fine. And the footage you're seeing here is from two different capture sessions. And what's interesting is one is that I was really hungry, and one of them I had left, hung out with somebody, eaten food, and then come back. And so the first one, not having eaten, made me feel a little queasy, so I had the VR blinders on. But for the most part, I didn't find them that distracting, and I think it's good that there's different levels of how much you want them on or off, or if you just want them completely off, that's an option too. You can also use the standard controller, which I think is going to be the option most people use most of the time. And I found this to be good as well. No real complaints. I did have some minor drifting, as you can see here in the footage. There is the HUD below me is kind of shifted to the right, even though I was facing right towards the camera. So that was simply fixed by restarting the game, no problems. Overall though, I am really impressed with this port, way more impressed than I thought, especially after E3. There's a lot of negative press about saying how it wasn't very good, but it seems like this, final build is actually quite good. I'm really enjoying it and I'm excited to hop back in. So as I work on my final review, I need your help. Comment below with questions you have, or if you're playing the game, what you like and don't like about it. Again, this has been for handsomephantom.com. If you like the video and you like hanging out, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And for more content, my Skyrim VR final review will be coming hopefully very soon. We'll see you guys next time.